It might be more accurate to rename 2022 to the year of Netmarble, with how many games they've revealed are not only in development, but simultaneously releasing this year alone. Hey, my name is STIX, and I genuinely think that this year is shaping up to be an incredible looking year for video games, both MMOs and RPGs alike. Now, if this is your first time here and you're interested in staying up to date with all of these games, or more specifically, MMOs and RPGs, then I urge you to hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell to remain up to date with everything that I post. Quick shout out to our patrons over on Patreon. You guys are all amazing. It's humbling to see people willing to support you in any way, whether it be a like or a comment or even a view. Now, today I want to take a few minutes of your time to talk about every single, well, I want to say every single game that Netmarble has announced, but every game that they've announced that I think is going to be a banger of a title. Games that I think are going to break out and will likely have so many players that the developers themselves aren't going to know what to do. Let's start this off with what is arguably the largest announcement, the 7 Deadly Sins Origin. This is an anime game that not only looks just as good as Genshin Impact, but it looks as though it plays just as well. You know, if the trailers are to be believed anyway. This game is set in a massive open world. It features the entire cast from the 7 Deadly Sins anime, so it has the added benefit of being an adaptation of an already existing intellectual property, and much like Genshin, is going to be completely cross-platform compatible, being built for both PC and mobile devices separately. Yeah, thankfully no cheap mobile ports here. They're really going all out with this title specifically, as while I do notice certain similarities with Genshin, and I'm sure you will as well, this could genuinely be one of the largest hits of 2022. The game will follow its own unique storyline, disconnected from the story of the manga and the anime, although the characters' personalities, their looks, their history, and the events that transpired in the source material are all still going to be vital to the game nonetheless. Unlike its direct competitors, the 7 Deadly Sins Origin goes a step further by introducing new mechanics like underwater exploration, diving, and the ability to fly. Yeah, not just gliding, but the actual use of flying by utilizing certain characters' abilities. Then we have solo leveling. Yes, that's solo leveling. I'm sure many of you are well aware of the webtoon that this is based on, and this adaptation specifically will feature many characters from the source material. Unlike the previous game we discussed, the 7 Deadly Sins Origin, solo leveling does not have much in the way of information revealed. They showcased a trailer with several of the characters, we got to see the action combat that is being utilized, we got to see some of the different monster types. It's unconfirmed what kind of game this is going to be, however, whether it be a dungeon crawler or an open world RPG. Based off of what we saw in the trailer though, it might feature a lot of instance dungeon content, which if that's the case, I hope it does include multiplayer functionality. Or you know what, actually, I feel like every game in this list that is not an MMO should contain multiplayer functionality, as the key to good action games, the key to good games and their ultimate longevity is the ability to play them with your friends. I mean, not in every instance, because you know, sometimes you just want to go it alone, or sometimes your friends are just terrible gamers. Much like the 7 Deadly Sins Origin, solo leveling is being developed for both PC and mobile devices, and while it doesn't look as large or as grandiose in scale, I'm sure it is still nevertheless going to find its audience very quickly. Some of you might recognize Arthdal Chronicles, not the game, rather the Korean fantasy drama that currently has one season available to stream. The drama released back in 2019 and hasn't had a second season greenlit until now. Not only will the TV series be receiving a second season, but they're also planning on releasing it alongside the new MMORPG announced based on the series itself. The companies responsible for both the K-drama and the MMO have expressed their intention of turning the Arthdal Chronicles intellectual property into a global franchise. And while the series is limited, the game is going to take the scope and the scale and magnify it several fold. The MMO is going to feature entirely new regions, new tribes, new features that just aren't present in the drama, attempting attempting to expand on the world and provide more for the player to explore and experience. Factions are going to play an integral role in the game, with faction warfare, with political alliances, and a focus on a player-driven economy. The game looks gorgeous and features an action combat system, and is scheduled to be releasing on both PC and mobile devices. I feel like a lot of you have played RF Online at one point or another. It's an MMO that's almost 2 decades old, a massive nostalgia trip, and one of the original sci-fi MMOs. So when Netmarble made the announcement that they were actually developing a sequel to RF Online in the form of RF Project, I was shocked. This is an MMO that I genuinely never in a million years expected to be resurrected. Much like its predecessor, RF Project is set in a sci-fi setting. It features massive mechs, it features tons of monolithic monsters to engage and defeat, what seems to be an action combat system, and an overhauled graphics engine. RF Online looks very dated by today's standards, but RF Project looks genuinely incredible if the trailer is to be believed. Granted, it could also very easily be utilizing pre-rendered footage, unlike Solo Leveling or the 7 Deadly Sins Origin. The core game is going to remain intact. There will be tons of round versus round PvP to engage in. Players will be capable of changing their class freely at any time without limitation. And most importantly, like every game listed up until that point, RF Project is being developed for both PC and mobile devices. Although, where I could see the previous 3 games working with a mobile port, honestly, I couldn't see this game looking even remotely this good on mobile devices as opposed to PC. Now, this is an interesting title. The 4 previous games that I mentioned, I'd all covered and done dedicated videos on. This game's different though. Typically, I steer clear of covering mobile exclusive titles or titles that are developed with mobile as the focus, or even games that just look too mobile-esque to me, unless they genuinely look impressive, like Guardian Tales or like Punishing Grey Raven. However, as this is an MMORPG, and it was announced at approximately the same time as the 4 other games, I still feel an obligation to cover it. Admittedly, Netmarble, interestingly enough, really devoted no time at all to the announcement of this game. Their focus was on other much better looking MMOs and RPGs. Nevertheless, from what little was in fact revealed, Raven Arang is going to be a PvP-focused open-world action MMORPG. And based off of the trailer that I saw, and this is just my own subjective opinion here, the game looks and feels a lot like other cross-platform games like Odin Valhalla Rising, like Project Ragnarok, like Grand Saga. Honestly, it doesn't look bad, but where the other games showed a uniqueness to them that isn't found within this game, Raven Arang just looks like a basic mobile game. Although it is confirmed to be launching onto both PC and mobile devices as well, but it just feels significantly more underwhelming than the other games in this list. I genuinely did not foresee Netmarble announcing such a diverse yet intriguing selection of MMOs and RPGs this year. And you know what, while not all of them are slated to release in 2022, the remainder of them that don't will likely be out sometime in 2023. So the next year or two has a lot of very potentially impressive looking games to look forward to. And that is completely disregarding all the other MMOs and all the other games that were announced and that are coming. But what about you guys? What are you most looking forward to? Because for me personally, this right here is what I am most looking forward to this year.